Based on the otherwise extremely laughable results of game award shows in the past, when the Video Game Awards for 2015 that occurred on December the 3rd in Los Angeles occurred, I really had no interest at all in it whatsoever. In fact, I thought the whole thing was an embarrassing joke that made gamers look like fools and idiots, and which games that were not deserving of praise or victory indeed both got praise and victory. However, on a curious whim, I decided to take a look at who the winners were for a lot of these categories that they have, and overall, I was actually fairly impressed. There are some things that I don't agree with, though I can understand, but one thing in particular caught my eye, and that was the best shooter. Splatoon, developed by Nintendo. I had completely forgotten about Splatoon personally, and I've never played the game. In fact, I was really surprised that a Nintendo game got the Shooter of the Year, because Nintendo Systems and their company in general is not really known for shooty bang bangs. And even though I was surprised to see Splatoon at the top, I was happy to see it there. First off, let's take a look at just who it beat out. Call of Duty Black Ops 3, Destiny the Taken King, Halo 5 Guardians, and Star Wars Battlefront. EA. And yes, they have it in the title, so I'll say EA. To remind you that EA is the one who fucked up Star Wars. My happiness at Splatoon's victory is not necessarily based on the merits of Splatoon itself. I cannot speak to those, as I have not played this game, nor do I have any intention of playing Splatoon. But someone who actually hasn't played any of the games listed here, even though I played the Black Ops 3 beta, which convinced me not to buy Black Ops 3, I couldn't say either way that Splatoon truly deserved it. So there you go. For all the people who will inevitably write down in the comments, "But you haven't played it, so yeah." I get it. I understand. Thank you for notifying me. As somebody who hasn't played really any of these games, I have to look at this decision from, well, that point of view. Quite frankly, if you're looking for me to sum this all up in just a few sentences, then I'll say it plainly. I'm very glad Splatoon won so that the others didn't. I didn't want Call of Duty to win, as I'd never want Call of Duty to win the something of the year anything. Not that I think Call of Duty is a bad game, it's just almost identical to the other Call of Duties that are pumped out every year. A game that hardly does anything different from its predecessor shouldn't win Shooter of the Year. Now perhaps in the case of, say, Battlefield 4, where it improves immensely on a foundation that was solid, I might be able to see that. But for such small-scale simplicity in Call of Duty, I'm glad it didn't win this award. Perhaps more than any of the other contenders, I'm extremely glad that Destiny did not win. I followed this game fairly closely until it was revealed there would be no PC version because fuck knows why not. And even now, I don't really care that one never came. If one came out tomorrow, I wouldn't buy it. Destiny was listed under the awards as Destiny the Taken King, though as I would like to say it, Destiny the King of Taken Out content. Destiny is perhaps the greatest, most prime and quintessential example of a game that has been stripped of content, so that can be repurposed and repackaged as DLC. Upon its release, the content levels in Destiny were bare. This was a minimum viable product, a shooter with lackluster everything. Releasing with no real contenders, Destiny knew that it could get away with releasing such small amounts of content because people would eat up that season pass. Content that was finished was removed from the game, it was blocked off and made inaccessible. It was then sold back to players as DLC. Ooh, look what we added, they said. Look what we added for you. Buy this game for $60 to get a taste of what we said would be the real game. Now pay us this amount of money for this DLC, and slowly but surely we'll make the game better after you pay us more money. A perfect example of false advertising, a perfect example of a game that was not what it was intended to be or what it was advertised to us as being. I'm extremely glad that Destiny did not win this award for fear that it would encourage other developers and other companies to make the same horrible anti-consumerist choices that Destiny has made. No, I'm not excited for Destiny 2, and quite frankly, Bungie, you can go and fuck yourself. You used to be great, and look at you now. Thanks too, Activision. I used to be a huge fan of Halo, when I was on the console at least. Halo 3, Halo Reach, Halo 2, they were some of the best gaming experiences I ever had. Halo 4 was kinda disappointing to me, and what I've seen of Halo 5 is nothing to be interested in. I was almost going to make a video on how much I hoped Halo 5 would come to PC. Though now, I really couldn't care less. Just like Destiny. The reason that I didn't want Halo 5 to win was because, again, much like Destiny, the business model was awful. You see, Halo 5 has microtransactions where, previously, there had been none. Armor in the game and certain upgrades can be obtained with real-world currency, and once, rewards of merit, like beating the campaign on Legendary or performing certain feats or getting all the achievements where that would once give you armor that would display your skill, are now simple results of either luck or just spending real-world money to get. That was one of the excellent things about Halo's excellent multiplayer. You had stuff to work towards that you could show off to show other people how good you were, how skillful you were, or what kind of playstyle you normally liked. Remember in Halo 3 when you saw someone with a katana? I do. It made me go, oh wow, that guy is a no-life who's very good at Halo. I am super jealous. Mostly though, the worry that I have about the microtransaction in Halo is the fact that they weren't there before. So how much will they go next time? What will they do as their next step? I see Halo 5's microtransactions as a company putting its proverbial foot in the water. I think they're trying to see just how much they can get away with, just how much money they can make extra and at no cost at all, so that when it comes time for the next Halo, they know just how far they can push that line back. I'm a big fan of Star Wars. I am also a huge fan of DICE's Battlefield, especially Battlefield 4, which is my most played game ever. Battlefront from the very onset looked like a very content-devoid game, a very simple, a very casual game that wouldn't interest me at all. The more and more I saw of Star Wars Battlefront, the less and less I wanted to play it. I had imagined Star Wars Battlefront to be like the old ones mixed with the excellent parts of Battlefield to make this combined arms, futuristic, spacey game that was set in the Star Wars universe. And now that I've seen it, well, the more and more people I also notice who say they would have much rather had a reskin of Battlefield 4. While the game in and of itself seems very lackluster, and many reviews from many reviewers seem to confirm that, the real reason that I really didn't want this game to win Game of the Year was for the same reason for Destiny. The fact that for $60 you bought the game, but it was really only a taste of the game with just a little bit of content in there just to give you a little preview of what they would be releasing, a la the Season Pass. Buy the game for $60, now pay us $50 more for all the content we're going to be putting it in to give you as much content as you used to get with other games, especially by DICE. DICE said, we're making the Star Wars game that we've always dreamed of. No, you're not. You're making the Star Wars game that EA told you to make. And you're keeping out the content that EA told you to keep out. You're releasing DLC that EA tells you to make. Star Wars Battlefront launched as a bare-bones product that was designed from the get-go to be kept alive by people buying the Season Pass, not because people wanted to spend more money for DLC packs that were actually worthy of the money. The amount of things that they cut out of this Battlefront that the other Battlefronts had is staggering. And in my estimation, this is a huge step back for the Battlefront series. Hopefully, EA won't step on DICE's toes too much so we can get a Battlefield 5 that's worthy of a true Battlefield product. Because Battlefront, it is not. And as a Star Wars fan, that upsets me even more. But what about Splatoon? Well, the DLC plan for Splatoon is a little bit different from the others. In the words of Austin Clark from InvisibleGamer.net, I think I want to see more games adopt what Splatoon is doing, consistently building on the game for months at no extra cost to the player. This is a massive departure from the season passes and the paid DLCs and the removal of content from the other contenders up for Shooter of the Year. In terms of just business model alone, Splatoon is without a doubt the best of them all. And from someone who hasn't played all these games, perhaps that's the one that I should be the most interested in. What am I going to get for the money I spend for the game? Will I have to worry about dropping the price of a whole other game just to get add-ons for a game I've already purchased? I have no problems with DLCs that are actually worth it, that are full of content, that are not stripped from the final product, a la Destiny. For instance, the VGA 2015 Game of the Year went to The Witcher 3, whose first DLC pack, The Hearts of Stone, took me a good 10 hours to get through, and was amazing all through. It simply gives me faith in video game awards such as this, that the game that won had the best business model for the consumer. And I think that in today's day and age for video gaming, the landscape of the industry dictates that whenever we think about buying a game, the merits of the game itself are no longer everything we have to consider. Gameplay, sound design, art, those are all extremely important, yes. But also more than ever, we have to really consider the value of the dollars we spend and just how much we are or are not getting gypped off by the companies who make them.